Hello, and welcome to another weekly reading. I am very excited to be bringing this to you as it is the week that is right between the two eclipses. So not only is it literally, the Monday, for example, of last week was one eclipse, and the Monday of next week is the next eclipse, and this Monday, Mercury stations retrograde. So we've already been in the shadow for a few weeks, and we are about to begin the 3-weekish process of Mercury retrograde right in the center of this eclipse cycle. And on top of that, we also have the last quarter moon in Capricorn. Capricorn as an archetype's been pretty busy in the last few years. It has been that vacillating back and forth with Pluto, doing its last part of its journey, tipping into Aquarius, back into Capricorn, back into Aquarius, and it will do one more tip back into Capricorn in a few months, but not for as long. And then also we, in the last few years, have had a couple of other retrograde processes there, including Mars and Venus. So this Capricorn archetype as a last quarter is going to bring up some deep stuff, especially if you have strong resonance with that archetype. So, with Mercury turning retrograde and Mercury being a very alchemical chap, I've got a little container of aquamarine stones, good for communication, tuning in, getting focused, because it's hard to tune in when you are in a Mercury retrograde. Lemongrass to lighten up a little, because let's be honest, it's not the end of the world. We're just experiencing some recalibration, rethinking, rewording, reframing, all the rewords. And if you know about Hermes or Mercury, the Greek/Roman god, he is often depicted with little wings on his sandals and also wings on his helmet. So I've popped in the wings, and we are still in that dragon portal of eclipse season, so I have drawn a dragon. Remember that this is not a personalized reading, but if you pick a number between 1 and 4, you will get a card that is kind of more personalized towards your theme of the week, and it is an overall collective reading. And although there are dates on this reading, whenever you find it, there is something for you in it. So never negate these things where you see them specifically for a time. You will find what you need there. That's how the universe works. It's remarkable. So pick a number between 1 and 4, and I have drawn us a dragon card for this week as well. And our dragon card is the golden crested dragon. We seem to be getting beautifully, consistently fifth dimensional dragons for this process of this eclipse portal that we're having. And in this card deck, there's like fourth dimensional, fifth dimensional, seventh dimensional, 11th dimensional. There's a lot of different dimensional dragons, and I quite love the thing that right now we're in the fifth dimension. This is where we need to be working quite consistently. And this says, golden crested dragon brings you higher love so that you can embody the Christ light. Absorb the Christ light. You are protected. Expand your heart and remain fifth dimensional. There it is. Remain fifth dimensional. That's where we need to be right now. We don't need to ascend beyond the fifth dimension. We actually need to consolidate as we rise into the fifth dimension and consolidate there. Build our castles in the sky of the fifth dimension. And then, as we look at these cards, I'm almost 100% certain this is our third week in a row with the Judgment card. Even crazier than that is that it is such an archetype for the sign of Libra. And this eclipse cycle is on the Libra-Aries axis, and last week was that Libra eclipse, next week being the total Aries eclipse. So that is a major arcana card as well, which means that it is a big collective theme that we are all undergoing and it's just part of the journey. It's like when the hero's journey is underway, you can't say, well, now I feel like meeting friends, or now I feel like meeting challenges. Whatever arises, and you deal with the thing when you get there. Whereas the other cards give us a little bit more control. So, for example, this Four of Swords is saying it's time to rest. Quiet your mind. Perfect when Mercury goes retrograde, because our thinking does slow down and we become more reflective and retrospective. So this is saying you are tired. Your mind is burnt out and a bit wired, and it is time to slow down, because if we don't get deep rest, we will become depressed. And I love that there's this little heart in this card. It's like once she goes to sleep in her little nest, in the safe structure, and is held, she is then able to consolidate. I'm actually just noticing the tattoo on her arm. I've never noticed that before. Isn't that beautiful? And it mirrors the pattern on her pants. Love that. But as she drops into this deep rest space, she is able to come back into her heart. Because when we get like runaway thoughts, we get out of our head, out of our heart and into our head. And this gives her a chance to come back into the heart by resting the body and quietening the mind. There might be dreams going on as she goes into a deep rest state, but those are also consolidating processes because they tap the unconscious. I also see there is a symbol here for a ruin. I don't know the ruins well enough, but if that interests you and it's jumped out at you, then maybe you would want to look up what that ruin is about. I'm going to definitely do that after, because again, something I'm noticing in this card right now. And that's another thing to remember about doing the cards, is that sometimes I look at these cards all the time and now I'm seeing something I hadn't seen before. Or when I pick up a card today, something jumps out that doesn't always jump out as loudly. That's part of what you need to pay attention to when you're drawing cards. What is standing out to me? What is shouting to be seen? Another thing that I'm really noticing in this nest today are the thorns. Can you see over there? There are spiky bits, there are thorns. Inside, the nest is safe and it is warm and she is fine, but she's protected by the thorns. And it's a swords card, which is a thinking card, an air card. And thorns, swords tend to be double-edged, and our thoughts can be helpful and they can be harmful, depending on which way they go. And it's like she's just going deep into the center of herself here, so that she is using the protection of the swords in thorns outside of the nest, but she is not allowing herself to get cut up by her own thoughts. And then we come to this judgment card. Oh, and of course, sorry, then we have the 2 pentacles cards here, and one of them is a court card. We come to this judgment card, and because today, and I'm pretty sure it wasn't upside down last week, and I can't remember the week before off the top of my head if it was upright or upside down, but because it's upside down, there is a resistance happening. Because ideally in this card, we are releasing ourselves from judgment, and then releasing ourselves from being so impacted by the judgment of others, and also releasing ourselves from judging others. They're all interconnected. If you are very judgmental, you will find you're also self-judgmental. And if you are very concerned about the judgment of others, you are probably judging yourself, you are probably judging others. They interconnect. So where we have been really having this push to let go of some of those things, because a lot of the thing about judgment is, where did we get those ideas in the first place? Where did we decide that that person deserved judgment, or that we deserve judgment? Who told us that? How did we have that idea? And a lot of that is old patterning and conditioning. Society says this is the way your life should go. If your life doesn't go in the way society said, you judge yourself. Then you see somebody else who's got it all going, quote unquote, right, and you judge them because you are jealous that it's not you. Or you see someone worse than you in accordance to society's expectations, and you judge them to take the pressure off yourself because you also feel like you're failing. So you can see how we can very easily get hooked into this judgment. But how often is it, and Mercury is retrograde, so we really can reflect, how often is it that we say to ourselves, hang on a second, why am I even judging that person for living their life that way? If they're happy with the way they're choosing to live their life, even though society says they should have done this, why is it bothering me? It's not even any of my business. And then we might say to ourselves, why am I continuing to do what society wants me to when it makes me miserable? Maybe there's a different way for me. What do I actually value? What do I actually hold close to my heart? And so this is where we begin to unpack. But you see, we might have been running a race in our minds, trying to stay on course with what society wanted and not deviate. So now we have this card upside down and we have a bit of a resistance. There is a fear around removing those masks, peeling back the layers of the onion that we are and getting to the center, the heart of the onion, that tiny little slip in the center of the onion. And I always say, I feel like There can't be any more layers to me right now. I must just be that tiny little slip at the center of the onion. But then I find more layers. So we're really good at padding ourselves and avoiding getting right deep to that heart. And this is also a space where we can find more easily in the unconscious, more easily in the dream realm, more easily when we let down our guard, which is we're very conditioned to keep up. Hence all the judgment that comes at us and from us and through us. So now we come into these 2 Pentacles card, which brings us into a space of how do we change that in the real world? How do we make a difference in how we live our lives? I always think of the Pentacles, because it is earth, of let's get practical. Let's see how to actually reflect on change. Because for me, it's very easy to get intellectual and analytical and philosophical. For me, it's very easy to feel. But what I need to work on for myself, certainly, is how do I watch that materialize in the world. So with the 4, I feel like these 2 cards are linking quite strongly, because the 4 of Pentacles is can be a stingy card. And when it is upside down, there is definite hoarding, fear mongering around things and wanting to hold on to everything you have, because you're so afraid that if you share, or if you give anything away, or if you even go and spend your money on food, you won't get more money, for example. I mean, this can very much be linked to money. You can see her holding onto her purse for all she's worth and closing her eyes and turning away from. So she doesn't have to see. She doesn't have to. Oh, look at that. There's another ruin. It's a different one. Pay heed and then go and Google the ruin thingies. But we've got 2 ruins coming through today. And I don't know the ruins very well, but for some reason I'm really noticing the ruins today. Anyway. So she is really stuck, because this is upside down. She's stuck in a lack mentality or a poverty consciousness. Now, I have worked very long and hard over the last while now at changing that, and it's a very entrenched thing in my family ancestry, my family lineage. Where is that for you? Have you gone so far in the other direction? For example, when family members went through the depression, they learned to hold on to everything, to hoard, to store, because they might not have had next week. That was a reality then. It is not as much a reality now, but in a sense, we're looping back into that because the price of food's going up, the price of everything's going up, and people are struggling. And so we may be accessing that part of our ancestral lineage of times where there wasn't, where there was lack. So there is a real practical aspect of this card, which is freaking us out. And yet at the same time, we want to turn it back around. And if it's the right way up, look at how she is almost like the younger version of her. And without looking, they are gazing at one another, but it's more from a heart space than a physical visual space. But because it's upside down, what she's not looking at is this resistance. So for me, these 2 are very strongly linking right now in the sense of, I can't let go of all these layers. I'm too afraid. If I do, what will happen? I need to just hold on to what I have and keep doing what I've been doing. This is where the safety lies. It's not true, but it feels true. It feels true for us. So we're hanging in there, and we're digging our heels in a little. And then we end with such a beautiful Queen of Pentacles who's really saying, but actually let me try to help you to feel into a different way, a better way, because she is like this wise businesswoman energy who has taken many a risk. Some have succeeded, many have failed, but overall she is a success. She is a financial success. She has built the life she wanted. She is very calm, cool, and collected. She is well grounded and balanced. She has a deep connection to nature. And this may be a person that you recognize as I say those things. You might immediately think of a person in your life, a wise, generally older woman, not old, but not young, and can be old, but moving from sort of midlife. And she is wise and centered and gives you good advice, and somebody maybe you aspire to. And that is where you want to lean in rather than getting hooked into this energy, this poverty consciousness, this fear of releasing judgment or such deep self-judgment. Because this person, whether she is a real person you recognize in your life or whether she is the archetype of that, she is guiding you to shift that. But she too has done all of these things along her journey. She too has been hooked into these things. She is not immune to the experience that you're undergoing. In fact, because she has done it, she knows how challenging it is to come out. And with that in mind, she really holds space for you to step forward into her energy rather than getting yourself stuck here. And this might be something that we're really experiencing through our dreams. You might watch your actual dreams and realize that you're panicking, and where you're panicking by reading your dreams. So I don't know if you've ever worked with your dreams, but that's also a very, very powerful thing to do, and definitely would be worth looking at if you've been having a lot of dreams. If your dreams feel very chaotic, if they feel very busy, if they feel very out of control, then you are most likely trying to process this stuff in the unconscious. And with that, we will sign off for the week. Thank you for watching. Please like, share, follow, and subscribe. Remember the golden Christed dragon and getting into that Christ light. And the energy of Christ is pure love. So we are raising our vibration to meet that love. Have a wonderful week, and I will be back for the full solar eclipse next week for another reading. Thank you for your time.